All right, so I do a lot of political content right now, and I'm trying to get some more stuff into the feed for like opinions and stuff that I do. Now, I was gonna stay away from talking about films and stuff because of the ongoing strike, because I didn't want to like somehow accidentally like give a good idea to somebody, as pretentious as that sounds, or somehow be promoting entertainment, right? I didn't want to talk about my favorite film or something because I was afraid it would promote that and people would spend money or whatever. But I don't think I'm that important. It's just I didn't want to be a detriment to the cause. But for this video, we're going to talk about Drew Barrymore. And this was a topic when I first thought about doing TikTok videos. I had made a bunch of notes about things that I was going to talk about. But anyway, for this one, I'm going to use Drew Barrymore as the example because I was going to use Jennifer Lawrence, but this just feels a little more relevant in things. So way back in the day, I was in my 20s. I had a MySpace, and I had a photo album where I had taken pictures of celebrities that I'd found online, and I would take like a picture of a role where I'd liked them, a normal shot they had done for the news, or like a red carpet appearance or whatever, something that looked like normal-ish, a black and white. I always like to have a black and white, and one other random photo of them. And that list had like Tandy Newton, Drew Barrymore was in there, Evan Rachel Wood, Kirsten Dunst, stuff like that. And again, I was in my 20s, was young and dumb. But it was called Women I Would Marry. And I didn't realize for a while that, and we'll get to the point where it's with Drew Barrymore, I didn't like the actresses. I thought I did. And I don't. I liked the character or a character they played, not the actress. For Drew Barrymore, it was in like, The Wedding Singer, her character in there, or various other roles like 50 First Dates, the genuineness of that character. And yes, the actress has to bring those qualities in, but they're acting. And I know that some people are going to roll their eyes and be like, well, yeah, duh. But I think other people are that way. They don't like Jason Momoa. Women don't like Jason Momoa. They like what he portrays. They like the physique. They like the characters he plays, right? Same with like Dwayne Johnson, as we've recently seen. People maybe get this now. They love his characters, but not him in actuality, because a lot of the stuff he does isn't exactly great, And then I realized like the characters they're written out by writers. Some writers came up with a character. They wrote that character out. Then a casting director picked someone to play that character, and we get the combination of that physical appearance, that acting style, and the character that's been written. But we don't really like the actor so much, or the actress so much. And Drew Barrymore is a good example of that. She seems wholesome, down to earth, like she could be your neighbor, she could be your sister, your best friend, but she's not. She's an actress. She doesn't run a news show. She's acting like she's running a news show and a talk show, and she's interviewing people and talking to people. That doesn't mean that some of the interactions she has aren't genuine, but at the end of the day, it's another role she's playing. It's only so genuine. And generally, I liked a lot of the stuff she was in, but this recent turn to think that somehow she could just circumvent the rules because of whatever reason, she should have asked somebody first. She should have talked to multiple somebodies. She should have consulted her writing staff. And that's where it comes off as bad. It's just not... You guys don't like the actress. You like the characters they play. You like those characters. The reason I was going to use Jennifer Lawrence was because of her character out of Silver Linings Playbook. That character was amazing. But that's not Jennifer Lawrence. That's that character. And so that's the fallacy we fall into. All these actors you guys follow and look at the end of the day, they're still people, and they're nothing like their characters. Now, there are exceptions, as far as I've heard anyway. I don't know this firsthand. The likelihood of me being able to meet and interview people in an honest fashion is very slim. And I've talked about this in other videos, particularly about politicians, and I'll loop it in here. But when it comes to politicians, I would love to have an unscripted, non-disclosed conversation, meaning I would not repeat anything said in the conversation. It would not be filmed. I could make commentary about the conversation, but I couldn't talk about the things we talked about unless they gave explicit permission for those things. And if I was to do those, nobody would watch them. And here's why. Because I would just say, so I talked to another actor today. You guys know this person. You've seen the films they're in. And I got the chance to talk with them candidly. But I would only be able to tell you about them. And talking with them for a short time is not going to be enough to know them entirely. You can gauge some things. I'm very critical of people. But it would be personal for me. It wouldn't be an entertainment value. The only way it would work otherwise is if somehow actors were okay with me asking them questions and talking to them normally and their opinions and having them answer honestly, but they're not going to because they have a reputation to protect. That's the thing. You're not going to get to see them. You don't get to see actors when they're just raw, trying to get a cup of coffee and in a shitty mood. You don't get to see that, you know. Even TikTokers, even the low level here. I would love to interview people that I have a feeling are good people like Tizzy Ent. I'll throw that name out there because these are higher profile TikTokers, right? We'll just move down the chain: actor, influencer, and then on. Tizzy Ent, Thomas Bishop, people like those. I would love to interview them, and I would hope to get a genuine response out of them to see them in a normal element of some sort, but they're still prepared for some kind of interview, right? Now, those two people in particular, I don't have any doubts where I've seen enough of their content that I'm pretty sure I know how they would be in real life, to a degree, not entirely, but to a degree. I still have questions for them. I would still have questions about their past, questions about their attitudes on things, what they think about things. And that would lead to like difference in opinion and stuff. But since this video is long enough, yeah, I don't think you guys have a clear picture of that. For the Drew Barrymore thing, it has really cost her some credibility, but she is towards the end of her career anyway. I don't see much coming up for her. If you guys don't know, she comes from old Hollywood royalty. I want to touch on that from the Barrymores. There's an old movie with Greta Garbo called The Grand Pup Hotel, I think it is. It's called The Grand Hotel. Sorry, it was one of the speaking roles that Greta Garbo had, and it was about a stay at a hotel. That movie was later remade loosely off that one, called Last Holiday, with Queen Latifah. If you haven't seen it, go see the original Grand Hotel, and then go see the Queen Latifah Last Holiday. They're loosely related. They borrowed elements from the old one. But one of Drew Barrymore's grandfather, I think, was in there. So the Barrymore name was a very high up name at that time. They were actors and stuff. So, but anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. It's probably the only content you're gonna get about Drew Barrymore. I'm gonna tag her in if she's got a TikTok. I think she does. I don't expect any response. I never do. I never expect responses from anybody. One, this channel's not that big, and two, I'm a nobody. So it's just my opinions being thrown out in the void. So just my opinion, guys.